being comfortable with today's uncertainty. So I'm going to explore esoterically the understanding of non-attachment and surrender to the guidance and trust in the higher purpose of our soul during today's challenging and uncertain times. So change has always been a challenge for the human mind. With change comes uncertainty, and with constant escalating change, uncertainty is heightened until we can become overwhelmed by feelings of fear, doubt, and even panic that threaten to destabilize even the strongest minds. So the key to navigating change is to understand why we react this way and why we are uncomfortable with uncertainty. So my aim today is to unravel this response to change that doesn't serve us individually and makes us extremely vulnerable to control by malevolent forces collectively. I want to delve deep into the psyche of the mind and unravel the esoteric truths that can help us to climb up onto our surfboard and ride the waves of change and embrace uncertainty. Because of one thing we can be sure, and that is the only constant thing in the world is change. We can't always change what happens to us, but we can change our response to it. So Buddha taught that the reason we suffer in response to change is that we grasp or we're attached to the idea of permanence. Despite the fact that we know everything changes, seasons come and go, relationships move on, people grow up and grow old, everything deteriorates, and is in constant ever-changing cycles, we still grasp at the desire for permanence. We believe that things will stay the same. We want them to stay the same. And we try to live as if we can control the process of change and the external events in our life. And we suffer when we find we cannot. So our mind becomes rigidly attached to the ideas, people, things we want in our life, and we avoid the things that we don't want. This attachment to the idea of permanence causes much worry, anxiety, and the experience of fear and doubt in our mind, because life constantly presents change and uncertainty. So a mind that is unstable in this way leaves us wide open to manipulation and control. Just look, for example, at the power of the desire to stay young, to sell millions of pounds of products worldwide to a world who believes they won't age. We know through our understanding of the law of karma that life will constantly present us with situations that we can't control, but these are perfect to foster our growth and development and restore the balance and equilibrium in the universe. This law, often called the law of readjustment, because every action creates a disturbance in the subtle balance of life that needs to be restored. When in any moment we don't know what will happen and find we can't control it, this creates the discomfort of uncertainty. But what if we could embrace change, trusting in the knowledge that our higher self will only manifest that which helps us to grow and evolve? This will reduce our suffering and enable our mind to be free, to be of even greater service to others. So this belief or grasping of permanence comes from the ego-driven lower mind that identifies with our personality. We forget our theosophical knowledge that we are an eternal soul that is having a particular personality experience here and now, to grow and learn, to develop capacities and qualities that we take with us as permanent atoms into our next incarnation. So these qualities and capacities are permanent, but the experiences that forge them are transient. Times of great change and uncertainty create amazing opportunities for profound awakening of our latent abilities. So our soul is the voice of wisdom that gets stronger through practices like contemplation and meditation. And these serve to loosen the tight grasp of permanence as we learn to relax into the here and now and flow with life's changes. This light of wisdom comes through a mind that has developed the capacity to detach from and observe thoughts and simply let them go. The practice of letting thoughts go enables us to release the need for certainty, and we become open to each moment as fresh and full of potential. In this way, change and uncertainty become an adventure. We come to trust that peace in our mind is always attainable, no matter what is going on. By being present, we realize that in every moment, we are not the person we were in the moment before, and neither is anybody else or anything else. Here we find the wisdom in the Buddhist mantra, I, who am momentarily not remaining for a second moment. For example, so much of our suffering in relations with others comes from our attachments to the idea that they don't change, and our expectation that we don't either, and a desire for permanence. We identify with their personality that we know from our perspective of memories of past experiences, and we project this into the future, making assumptions and developing expectations about their behaviors and their beliefs. It's no wonder we get into a tangle. When we embrace the present moment, we can let go old grievances as we realize that person is not the same person they were when they said or did something to us 20 minutes or 20 years ago. This is the basis of the healing power of forgiveness and the development of the Christ consciousness in the heart. We forgive to release our attachment to the past, so as to return to love in the present. So with insight and understanding, we realize we're holding on to our perspective, influenced by our state of mind at a particular time in the past, and letting this determine the present moment. We grasp at the permanence of their personality vehicle. Yet we know from our Theosophical teachings that our personality is constantly evolving, and that even at the level of the soul, there is growth and change. We know from our wisdom teachings that change and uncertainty is necessary for growth and is an impetus that comes from our soul. We have a contract with our soul. When we realize that each moment is a fresh canvas, and we are the artist of our own mind, we open to greater creativity, love, compassion, and wisdom. As we learn to navigate the choppy waters of change as a personality guided by our soul. With increasing soul contact, eventually the impermanent personality ceases to exist. We become a soul-infused personality, and even this is not permanent, as our soul eventually merges with the monadic spark of the divine and we return home to source. Uncertainty is uncomfortable because it creates fear in our mind. We entertain thoughts of, what if this happens? Or what if that happens? We question, analyze, and go through the turmoil of the lower mind's amazing capacity to build a mountain out of a molehill, from any fear, whether it's real or imagined. By engaging with a passing thought, we experience this emotional and mental turbulence as it takes hold of our mind. This destroys our peace of mind and paralyzes any capacity we had to respond intuitively and creatively from our pure potentiality present in that moment. When we let go this mental projection, analysis, and turmoil, we create the space needed in our mind for the intuitive guidance from our higher self through our third eye to appear. With practice, this develops the certainty that in any moment of uncertainty, we will know what is required for the best. But this takes courage and trust in your higher self. I'll give you an example that I'm experiencing at the moment. Over the last year or so, I've had quite a strong impetus. I know I need to move house. It's not so much that I need to move house. I know from a soul point of view that I need to move energy environment. I need to move to an environment that better nurtures my vibration, my energy. And I have twins who are sitting A-level, so a perfect time to sell my house would be this spring. So I know I'm selling my house this spring. I have no idea where I'm going to. I've got ideas about what I might want to do. I know I need to get closer to the land, more sustainable. Maybe I need to go into a different energy environment. So this, combined with my last two children going off to university, creates much uncertainty. There's a lot of change going on. And all I'm doing is I'm just following my intuitive guidance one step at a time. I know for now, I need to prepare my house to sell it. So yesterday I was painting a room in preparation. I know that because this comes from deep in my soul, that I will be guided and helped, but I have no idea. There's no certainty about where I'm going or what I'm doing or what the time frame is or how it will work out, or all the ifs and buts. So most of the time I'm excited about this and I love the uncertainty of it. And every now and then that little seed of fear or doubt grabs my mind. I'm like, oh, what if this? What if I can't sort this? What about the timing? Will I wind up in a caravan in a field? All of this. And as soon as I see it, I'm like, there you go. Fear has crept in. So because of my practice of meditation, I pull back and I recognize that's just fear. Let it go. Trust your soul. And I return to that trust that I will be helped, I will be guided, and the perfect situation will come about, even though I have no idea what it is. So it takes constant vigilance, because it would be very easy to go down that fear route and think, oh, maybe I'll just stay here. That would be permanent. That would be grasping onto permanence. It would be the safe option. But I know at a soul intuitive deep level that that's not right for me. And so I know that I have to have the courage to just trust and go with. And I'll be shown each moment, and the perfect thing will come about. I'll probably be pushed at times thinking, oh, am I going to be living in a tent? But do you know what I mean? And if you trust, it does come about. But the key is to realize that you can never control situations or the behaviors of others, or what's going to happen or what's not going to happen, but you can choose your response to them. And this is the basis of all spiritual development. So fear is always based on past experiences. And when we project assumptions into the future, we experience worry, anxiety, and doubt. And this creates an illusion of reality in which we feel powerless to cope. That's when the fear gets you down and you start spiraling down. It's not the truth. It's simply our perception based on what happened in the past, rather than what is actually happening in this moment. And fear can grab your mind And before you know it, you've gone down the route of some scenario that may never happen. Fear is created by a mind that believes in separation and isolation. So love is the abounding energy and life force that binds and connects all in our universe. It's vital to realize that whenever you have connection, you are experiencing love. Love is connection. Fear is simply an absence of love, the feeling of disconnection. So our lower mind thoughts often come from fear beliefs, from fear of separation, from a belief in our separation and our isolation. And the reactions inherent are in programs that are laid down in our unconscious mind based on our past. When we're released from fear, we act from love in any given moment. Love is the natural response of the conscious mind that is present, but not caught up in thoughts. So those thoughts come from your unconscious mind when you're not present to what's going on in the moment. Now, I believe that the single most important thing we need to do to help humanity move forward as a collective and navigate these challenging times we're in is individually to learn to let go of fear. Because when we do, this releases us from the lower mind and the astral emotional nature, releases that attachment so that we can start to use our mind to discriminate, to create, and to think as we're designed to. It frees our mind to develop those latent capacities that are there when we're not caught up in thinking and fear and doubt and worry. So the ultimate human fear, the fear behind all fears, is the fear of death, which is a fear that we will no longer exist, the complete loss of connection to all. But we know from ancient wisdom teachings that we are eternal, and it is only our physical body, the vehicle for our soul, that dies. We, as we truly are, continue on our path of conscious evolution. We know we will physically die in this lifetime, yet we live every day as if we will never die because we grasp onto this misperception of permanence. This is why we avoid thinking or talking about death. Theosophical teachings offer a wonderful opportunity to truly embrace your impermanence whilst enjoying this moment on the continuum of your existence. I'm going to say that one again because there's a lot in that sentence. So Theosophical teachings offer us a wonderful opportunity to truly embrace our impermanence whilst enjoying this moment on the continuum of our existence. There's a profound Buddhist meditation in which you repeat the mantra, I may die today. You repeat it over and over. And in your mind, you observe all the attachments or the aversions or the worrying and anxious thoughts that arise in your mind as a result of repeating this mantra, I may die today. And you practice letting them go until the fear of death has no further hold over your mind. And this frees you to live a life of love, where you shine. You cherish your good qualities, living from your pure potentiality toward full enlightenment and a complete release from the cycle of karma and rebirth. Yet we still hold this idea in our mind that we want to know. We want to be certain about what happens next. We even want to be certain that our knowledge and our beliefs are the truth, the whole and complete truth, rather than entertaining the idea that the truth is constantly unfolding and evolving, and we can only ever grasp as much of the truth as our own awareness is capable. Moments of profound insight often completely change what we understood as the truth when we are open to uncertainty. So truth can change moment to moment, like we do moment to moment, like other people do moment to moment, like everything does. We know life changes, but we live as if it doesn't. Theosophy teaches us about the cycles and rounds and globes of human evolution, that civilizations and even whole root races come and go, that we're on a soul journey largely colored by our karma and our dharma, experiencing constant growth and change as part of the plan of conscious evolution. But how do we learn to embrace and live wisely using our knowledge of these constant cycles of change? Paul Coelho said, we live as if we're never going to die and die as if we had never lived. And that is fear. Gandhi said, live as if you were to die tomorrow and learn as if you were to live forever. So I'm going to say that one again because there's so much in that. So we live as if you were to die tomorrow, learn as if you were to live forever, because you do, and you learn forever. To be comfortable with uncertainty, we need to learn to recognize and release fear in our mind. Then we can be present to what is and respond accordingly, understanding that life is a series of never-ending moments of opportunity, that impermanence is the truth as life continually unfolds and evolves. We essentially live connected as a soul, observing the play of life. Our experience collectively over the last few years and currently, and it will be ongoing, has given us ample opportunity to recognize when we are allowing fear, and especially the fear of change and the unknown, to take over our mind. This is why so many are awakening and seeking understanding at this time. They're seeking peace in their mind because they have experienced such high levels of fear and stress from uncertainty. So the key is meditation and moments of contemplation combined with living mindfully, fully present. Because in meditation and contemplation, we establish a connection with our higher self. And through our Buddhic nature, we realize we are a spark of the universal divine principle, which is ultimately real, unified, and unchanging. So in meditation, we contact the part of us that is permanent, that is unchanging, that we can rely on and trust, that sort of deep, it grounds us in what is real. We experience the truth of our permanence and observe the constantly changing thoughts and emotions in our mind. And this loosens their hold over us. We realize we are not our thoughts, we are not our emotions, we are that which observes them. And when we realize we're not our thoughts and we're not our emotions, this gives us the opportunity to choose which we give our attention to and which we don't. You can wind up laughing at fear. You might think you're going crazy, but you're not. It's when you'll notice when you've been practicing meditation for a while, and in your everyday life, you more and more start to become the silent witness, the silent observer. You are observing life. And as you're present to life, a thought will pop into your mind, and it's a fearful thought, or it's a thought from the past, or it's a thought that would have grabbed you in the past. and you know it spirals down, and you recognize it, and you're like, no, you're not going to get me with that one. You actually laugh at your own mind, because it's too important to you to stay present in your peace of mind. You're not going to let some random fearful thought rock your peace of mind. It's too precious. You know that to be present, to observe and be that silent observer is the key to peace of mind, whilst navigating a world that is increasingly uncertain, chaotic, full of conflict and all sorts of challenging things. But by detaching from our thoughts and simply witnessing them when we sit as the silent observer, standing on the riverbank, watching the river of our mind flow past. In meditation, we recognize when we've jumped into the river and we've followed a train of thought down the river. As soon as we realize, we simply let it go. Return to the riverbank as the silent observer. And the more we practice this simple returning to the breath, returning to the mantra, returning to the seed thought, whatever we are returning to in meditation, we strengthen the power of our connection to our soul, and we strengthen the power of our capacity to let go thoughts, to see them as simply thoughts. Through the practice of sitting as the silent observer in meditation, we can see these thoughts as just temporary disturbances in the mind, like bad weather passing across a clear blue open sky, with no power to permanently harm us. Like clouds, this weather will pass. If we know we are the clear blue open sky, then clouds are just bad weather passing by. Thoughts are just that. Fearful thoughts are just coming in and passing by. And this practice loosens our attachment to permanence and enables us to develop control over our mind, as we realize that our thoughts and feelings continually change, but the silent observer doesn't. Regular practice of simply observing thoughts in the mind and letting them go enables us to engage with life as the silent observer. And this is something that just naturally happens through a regular practice of meditation. That practice of detaching, of discriminating, of observing, that you practice in meditation, your mind starts to operate that way all of the time. The mind that finds deep peace in meditation becomes the natural state of your mind all of the time. To connect mindfully to the here and now is what we do, rather than getting caught up in the tangle of thoughts and interpretations of what is before us that play out in our mind. We live the here and now as a soul, witnessing the drama of our life, responding as a soul when needed. I often say to people, when you're in fear, if your life is a drama on stage, when you're caught up in your lower mind, in your astral emotional nature, it's as if you're on stage, part of the drama, playing your part, whichever hat or part you're playing at that particular time. You're up on stage in the drama of your life. Now, when we are up on the stage, we can't see the big picture. We can't detach from that drama. We're caught up in the astral and the personality and the experiences, the personality. But when we hop into the audience of our own life, when we witness and observe our own life, not caught up on stage, we're in the audience, we see the whole picture. We see things and understand things. We have insights into our life that we couldn't have if we were up there on the stage. We see the various emotional dramas playing out with other people as just that. we see that our life really, who we are in truth, is just watching the drama of our life. And we can stay in love when we are observing. When we're caught up in that drama, it's very hard to detach from the emotional desire nature. When we sit in the audience, we develop our discriminative mind. We can develop our creative mind so that we start to use our mind to influence the drama. But that's a whole topic for another talk. And that's something that will develop as the minds of men develop into the next, especially the next root race. But we're starting to understand it now. So as we practice this letting go in meditation, this observing, this stepping back, this detaching, we can do this when things in the world are overwhelming. So it's not that we don't care. It's not that we are not involved emotionally. It's the difference between observing what's going on in the world from a place of compassion and getting emotionally involved in what's going on from a place of pity or a place of being pulled in. So I give the example, if someone's in trouble, say a friend's in trouble, think of them as like they're stuck in a hole. So they've fallen down this hole. Now, there are ways that we can help that person. If we get caught up in their emotional drama, it's as if we've jumped in the hole with them. And now there's two people stuck in the hole. And yes, they have company in the hole, but it's not helping them get out of the hole. Okay, they're still stuck in whatever's challenging and going on for them. If it's fear, we're now both in fear. And this is really what happens when you get a group of people together who are all in fear, or we listen to mass messages of fear. We're all jumping in the hole. Or you can stand on the side and you can offer guidance that helps them climb out themselves. So you could lower a ladder. You could lower the ladder of wisdom, and they could take the first steps to get themselves out of the hole. That is what compassion is. So you care because you want to help that person out of their challenging situation. You want to pull them out of fear so they can return to love. But compassion is to stand on the edge and offer them the tools and the means to pull themselves out. And this is the difference. Pity, you jump in the hole with them. Compassion, you stand on the side. And people may see compassion in that way as detached and not caring. No, you really do care. You're recognizing that the best help you can be is by not jumping into the drama with them, by remaining that silent witness, that observer, being detached, by offering them the wisdom that you have, which would be like a ladder, and encouraging them up onto the first rung of that ladder so that they can climb out themselves. So they have therefore developed the qualities and capacities and latent abilities within their being that are now permanently theirs. And that's their soul growth. And so this is just an example to explain that when I say detached, I don't say that you don't care. No, you really do. So this, when we can remain calm in a challenging situation, when we can stay centered in the peace in our mind and respond as our intuition directs, we can develop this discrimination, this capacity to see the big picture, to be in the audience, not on the stage, to understand, to question, to ask the right questions, to follow through on something, to not just believe everything you're told, to not believe coercive or manipulative messages, to question, question, question. And when we do this, we develop this power of our mind to discriminate, to truly think. and we develop compassion in our heart. And this becomes our response to life. So instead of grasping at permanence and being pulled into fear, we step back and we let go the fear, recognizing that it doesn't serve anybody. And this enables us to step back into that place of seeing the world as a soul, listening to our intuition, developing the discriminative mind from a place of compassion in our heart. And this completely changes our response to challenges, to uncertainty, and to change. So in Buddhist teachings, for example, shifting our focus from what is happening to me to how may I help others reduces all aspects of what they call self-grasping. So in Buddhist teaching, self-grasping is the belief that the world revolves around us. So it's a very ego-centered. And when we change our focus from what's happening to me to how may I help, we no longer suffer in our mind, and we develop great compassion and a mind that is peaceful and content with whatever life presents. And we know this in survival or emergency situations, that when we pull out of being, oh, poor me, what's happening to me, and we help others, fear goes, and we act from a place of great compassion and great wisdom. And we often will find qualities within ourselves or witness them in others that are the best qualities that humans have. We'll find capacities we didn't know we had. And so we become effective vehicles of great service to the world, not just in the example of the way we live our life, but simply as an energy of a higher vibration emanating out to touch and positively affect all we come in contact with. So every time you step back from fear and you choose to stay in the moment, you raise your vibration and you help everybody around you do the same. When you are present, you pull other people into the present moment. We're no longer overwhelmed or feel panic when life changes in ways that are challenging and there is much uncertainty, because we trust in our higher self to guide our response. We trust in the greater plan of evolution of human consciousness. As we detach from our identification as a personality, we become increasingly aware of the part we're destined to play in that plan of conscious evolution. And we become comfortable with uncertainty. We learn to trust and flow with what is. You can say to yourself at this moment, I am experiencing uncertainty, fear, or doubt, rather than I am uncertain, fearful, or doubting. Do you see the difference? So if you say to yourself, at this moment, I am experiencing uncertainty, I'm experiencing fear, I'm experiencing doubt, I'm experiencing panic, whatever it is. By saying that I'm experiencing it, this gives the detachment needed to let go of that moment and not identify. It's not me that's uncertain. Uncertainty has just grabbed my mind for a moment, which means in the next moment I can let the uncertainty go. So you can embrace the next moment without that feeling. So just changing the way you speak to yourself, or recognizing I am experiencing fear, not I am fearful or I am fear. I am experiencing fear, gives you that detachment to then let the next moment let it go. I'm no longer experiencing fear. I have returned to love and trust. We come to recognize that holding on to our view of things and knowledge is simply an attachment to permanence. But applying this knowledge in the present moment in service to others in your life is a development of wisdom. As we learn to release the tightness of a mind grasping onto permanence, we realize that the thoughts we hold in our mind do have an incredible creative power. And this is what I alluded to earlier. So we can choose. Thoughts pass through our mind all the time. We choose the ones we hold in our mind. And these are the ones that have creative power. So if you constantly hold on to fearful thoughts, doubting, panicking, overwhelm, if that's a pattern that you have in your psyche, that's what you will create. You bring more of that because your soul recognizes you still haven't learned to let go fear. So it keeps having to bring more fearful situations into your life till you learn that one. But we can work it the other way. If our mind has this capacity to create, to manifest, energy follows thought. If we can manifest through the power of our mind, if we learn to use this, a mind that's overwhelmed by fear can't do this, but a mind that's centered in love can do this. It's incredibly powerful. We learn to rest in the inner peace of our pure potentiality and envisage a world based on peace, love, and understanding. So when we create these visual images in our mind of the world as we want it to be, especially if we're doing that from a place of great compassion and the desire, our intention is of the highest good, we harness the power of conscious thought to bring this into being. And it's my understanding is that the creative power of your mind, the thing that affects it the most is the intention coming from your heart. So you say, right, well, can I create a Porsche with my mind because I fancy one on my driveway? No, because the intention coming is not in alignment with your highest good. Whereas if you are using your creative mind in this way, with a pure intention and compassion of the heart, then we step into the power of our mind. So when our mind is not caught up in thoughts, when our mind is present and clear and peaceful, we have this amazing capacity. This develops the power of our mind. And this is especially when we do this collectively. We do this in meditation. And this is how we can consciously manifest a brighter future for all. So really, uncertainty is a golden opportunity when you don't know what's going to happen next. You don't know what is going to happen today, tomorrow. Today I may die. When you conquer that fear of death, you really start to live. You start to live as if life is an adventure. And I have always had the philosophy that if my life is scary and exciting in equal measure, I'm really living. I'm living the way I'm supposed to be living. And especially when the adventure just tips. So that's all you need is the excitement and the inspiration and the adventure just tip so that's greater than the fear and the scariness and the doubt and all of that, which is the human mind, is the human condition. And you just tip. If you look back over your life and you think of some of the best things you've ever done in your life or some of the hardest decisions you've ever made, you will have just faced the fear and done it anyway. You will have faced the uncertainty, not knowing, and taken a leap of faith. You trusted in something. And those often turn out to be the best. Certainly in hindsight, you look back and know that you were being guided, you were being supported. Something far beyond you had a say in that every step of the way. And this is learning to really live, to live as we're meant to live. So becoming comfortable with uncertainty is a key. It's a real key because it brings us right there, brings fear, brings us into recognition of the fear in our mind. And we know that we need to learn to let that fear go so that we can return to love. And that's all I've got to say on that for today. Namaste.